before Lakewood was out of our state.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm David Green. Over the next few days, we're meeting people who have been forced to leave their homes and countries because of violence. They're fleeing well-known conflicts like Syria's civil war, and also lesser-known ones like anti-Muslim rioting in Myanmar. Worldwide, there are millions of refugees, and their numbers are growing. This morning, we start in the Mediterranean, where more and more people from the Middle East and Africa are trying to reach Europe by sea, and thousands have died trying. NPR's Leila Fadel brings us this story from the island nation of Malta.
The desk up here, there's the side porch where the migrants belong. There's the medical lab.
Christopher Catcher-Bone, showing us around a boat docked in Malta called the Phoenix. He's a wealthy businessman from Lake Charles, Louisiana. The sound of construction fills the air as Catcher-Bone and his team ready the boat for sea. This is the luxury cruises. He says he and his wife invested $8 million to buy this ship and hire a crew to save lives at sea.
Thousands of people are dying today. As we stand here, we just received news that 10 more migrants died.
The couple founded the organization after they were cruising the Mediterranean in a yacht. Catcher-Bone's wife saw a jacket in the water. She asked about it and was told it might belong to a dead migrant who was trying to find safety in Europe. And that was it. They founded the Migrant Offshore Aid Station, which began operations last year.
We're the only game in town.
And in just 60 days, they saved hundreds of migrants crossing the sea in rickety wooden boats or dinghies. This year, they're trying to raise money to operate for 6 months. Martin Schwedab is the director of the organization and Malta's former chief of defense. In the birth of the ship, he explains what the foundation does.
We rescued 201 people, over 100 women and children from a 12-meter boat, a wooden boat that was already taking in water. They're snagged, really packed like sardines.
So if you had gone out there and started taking on water, it would have led to
Yeah, likely.
Some Europeans criticize the rescue operation, saying it draws more migrants to the sea. Schwedab says that's just not true. People are desperate and are making a journey to find a better life. They deserve to live, he says. Last year, a record of about 218,000 people made this journey. Some 3,500 drowned, and the numbers this year are growing. Amnesty International says rates of those crossings are 50% higher than last year, and already hundreds have drowned.
Amnesty International is calling on European government to start as soon as possible with a new concerted operation.
He says right now no European country has a search and rescue operation dedicated to saving migrants at sea. And Malta in particular has been criticized for neglecting to pick up ships in trouble. And with the conflicts in Syria and Libya, the numbers of those crossings will only Every day, more boats set out to sea, packed with hundreds of migrants searching for safety. That's how Fazan Abdullah Tawab got to Malta from Somalia. We meet her in an apartment where she lives in one room with her husband and 2 children. She cuddles her newborn. Her husband plays with her 2-year-old daughter sitting nearby. Tawab says she fled Somalia after the militant group Al-Shabaab killed her brother and tried to force her into marriage. 6 months later, she reached Libya and got on a rubber dinghy with 94 other people headed to Europe. She was pregnant and at sea for 6 days. Food and water ran out quickly. 8 people died, and then finally, the team's rescued. Her daughter was born in Malta. She named her Lucky because she survived. For so many others, the journey ends at sea. Leila Fadel, NPR News.
President Obama is showing no signs of backing off his criticism of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. president yesterday said Netanyahu's pre-election comments opposing a Palestinian state hurt the peace process, and he said the U.S. has to, quote, evaluate what other options are available. While there is growing sentiment in Israel that the White House is overreacting to campaign rhetoric, NPR's Emily Harris reports that some are welcoming this move.
Few Israelis remember relations with Washington as being this spiteful before, but settler activist Daniela Weiss says it's fine with her to get this disagreement out in the open. She does not want Netanyahu to help establish a Palestinian state and believes the White House understands his position correctly.
Obama accepts it, maybe regretfully, but understands that this is what is going to happen, that Netanyahu will not enable the creation of another state in the land of Israel.
From the left side of the political spectrum, former diplomat Alon Liel agrees with the U.S. position that creating a Palestinian state is the right way to peace. But he says President Obama's recent criticism of Netanyahu isn't enough to get there.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because this is only talking to whatever it wants.
As the White House reevaluates its position, Netanyahu is forming his government. It will be a coalition of parties, likely with several members of the White House who are openly against the Palestinian state. Emily Garrison, News.
Latest on that deadly plane crash in the French Alps yesterday. Investigators are still trying to understand how a plane making a routine flight from Barcelona to Düsseldorf suddenly had problems with the center. The crash of the Austrian Airbus has shaken people in Greek countries, Spain, France, Germany, and also elsewhere in Europe, as it appears on our video.
Footage of the crash site filmed from a helicopter and shown on French television showed small pieces of white debris strewn across a steep, rocky mountainside. Also visible were the first investigators arrived at the scene on foot, trying to make their way into a ravine through massive crevices. The helicopter pilot, Christian Venus, said they had hoped to find survivors of the mile-high crash site, but that's totally impossible, he says. The plane is pulverized. People on the ground heard explosions at the time of the crash. Sébastien Giroux was one of the few eyewitnesses. He was working in his yard.
I looked up and saw a commercial plane coming down into the mountain range. It was strange. You never see planes like that. I knew immediately something was wrong. It was going to crash. Il est peu avant midi à l'aéroport de Düsseldorf. En pleurs.
Grief-stricken families gathered in Germany and Spain. In France, authorities set up a base camp for the investigation and recovery of remains, with a fleet of helicopters and hundreds of firefighters, police, and military with the skills to work in the rugged mountainous landscape.
Je voulais vous indiquer qu'une boîte noire a été retrouvée.
Late Tuesday, French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve announced that one of the plane's two black boxes, the one that reports cockpit conversations, was found. Cazeneuve said it had been damaged, but investigators were working to repair it so they could read it. He said terrorism was not a likely scenario for the crash. Investigators are at a loss to explain why Flight 2925 from Barcelona to Dusseldorf, operated by Lufthansa's low-cost subsidiary Germanwings, went into a sudden and rapid descent after it had reached its cruising altitude. The plane dived downward at a rate of about half a mile a minute, 3 times the speed of a regular descent, until it slammed into the mountainside. Former pilot and aeronautics expert Jean Serrat says what's most baffling is the plane kept to its original course.
Ça, c'est le grand mystère qui est posé ce soir.
The big mystery is why the pilots descended for 8 full minutes without coming out of their trajectory. The first thing you learn as a pilot is if you're going to descend rapidly, you veer widely left or right, but you always quit your regular flight path.
Another troubling question, said Serrat, is why the plane didn't emit a distress signal. Serrat said that would be understandable if there was complete chaos on board, but the plane appeared to be in a fast but controlled descent for 8 full minutes. He said they should have had time to do it. The leaders of France, Spain, and Germany will visit the Alpine crash site today, ahead of the expected arrival of dozens of bereaved families. But as yet, there are no answers for them as to why the plane went down. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
7:18 on this Wednesday. I'm Cherry Glazer, and you are listening to Morning Edition here on 89.9 KCRW. Well, we've got an unusually tough ride out there this morning. If you're anywhere near East LA or downtown LA, it's all due to a major accident on the southbound 5. Took place overnight. A couple semis and several other vehicles involved. As a result, right now the southbound 5 is completely shut down, basically from the 10 down to the 710, and this is affecting all the freeways that lead into the East LA interchange. We're talking about the 5, the 101, as well as the 10, the San Bernardino Freeway. You're looking at a backup on the southbound Hollywood at this point, from Hollywood Boulevard already. The southbound 5 looking somewhat better, but it is slow coming away from Colorado Boulevard. Meanwhile, a couple other trouble spots to tell you about. North Long Beach, westbound 91 past Atlantic. Injury accident involving a motorcyclist. And in the Monrovia area, westbound 210 at Santa Anita, we've got a fender bender there.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Dave Mattingly. Efforts are continuing today in the French Alps to recover human remains and debris from that Germanwings airliner that went down on a flight from Barcelona to Dusseldorf. Most of the 150 people killed were from Germany, but the BBC's Bethany Bell says many Spaniards also died in the crash.
More than 40 people on board the Germanwings flight were Spanish. Catalan police have been taking DNA samples from relatives of the victims. Some of the relatives spent the night near Barcelona airport. A number of them are expected to visit the site of the crash today.
2 Americans were also aboard. The leaders of France, Germany, and Spain met with recovery teams earlier today. A big merger in the food industry. Heinz is buying Kraft Foods. NPR's Jim Zaroli says the deal creates one of the largest food companies in the U.S. under the name Kraft Heinz.
The merged company will have 8 brands worth more than $1 billion. Heinz is now owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway and by the Brazilian firm 3G Capital, which has been involved in some of the biggest food industry mergers of the past few years.
And on Wall Street, stocks are lower this morning. At last check, the Dow was down 35 points, the Nasdaq off 22, the S&P down 1. I'm Dave Mattingly, NPR News in Washington.
20 years ago, the Buena Vista Social Club introduced the world to some great talents of Cuban music, and there's more where that came from.
I started to dig into these archives, and it became apparent pretty quickly that there was at least an album's worth of really wonderful stuff.
Producer Nick Gold on music by the Buena Vista Social Club today on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Join us for All Things Considered weekdays beginning at 4 on KCRW and KCRW.com.
KCRW sponsors include Sony Pictures Classics, presenting The Salt of the Earth, the Academy Award-nominated film by Vin Vendors and Giuliano Rivero Salgado, about the life and work of renowned photographer Silvestro Salgado. Starts Friday. Coming up, brave business people can get their ideas from anywhere. We'll meet an entrepreneur who saw a business opportunity while he was behind bars.
Support for KCRW comes from Cedars-Sinai, working with more than a dozen schools throughout Los Angeles, including Arlington Heights Elementary School. Cedars-Sinai provides nutrition education at no cost to children through their Healthy Habits program. Taught by Cedars-Sinai health educators, the Healthy Habits program offers a curriculum that shows children how to make smart food choices, creating lifelong habits and helping combat obesity. It's just another way Cedars-Sinai extends care beyond their medical center and into the community.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations and from UMA, a cloud-based phone service working to help small businesses run efficiently and improve customer experience. With features to stay connected from anywhere. UMA, the smartphone for your business. More at ooma.com. From Farmers Insurance, out to educate everybody about common insurance gaps that can be costly so that no one falls victim to them again. Farmers Insurance, know the gaps.